Hello and welcome to another episode of the Full Force Weekly, brought to you by GeneralsJoes Reborn.com with me, Christopher McLeod AKA Diagnostik80. For today's episode, I'm joined by the awesome Justin GeneralsJoes Bell. In this regular video series, we round up all the week's news in the world of G.I. Joe. What is it, Justin?
Full Force News Burst Weekly, is it?
You've overthought it. It's much easier. It's way much easier in this stuff. It's just the Full Force Weekly. So
Full Force Weekly, there we go.
I'm still using that.
Pat's got it easy. He just has to remember that. I have to remember the whole long, complicated thing.
That's all Pat does on the show.
I would never say that.
You just did. That is your words. Not mine. No, I'm kidding. Yeah, Pat's not with us today. That sounds really ominous. But no. I think he just got really
just today.
Sick
it's not that he's not with us anymore.
I know,
he's just not with us today. Yeah.
I just think he'd had enough, and he's just like, I can't be bothered to do this anymore. Let someone else get
Chris, I'm not going to be able to make it today, and then he just drops you off his Facebook friends list, and he's gone. Yeah.
Exactly. What I will say, though, Justin, is that how awkward wearing the same clothes.
I know, no kidding. Yeah, I know. It's, we definitely did not plan this, believe it or not.
Believe it or not, no memo was sent out for this one, so that's just complete coincidence.
We're on the same wavelength, that's all. It's like
a wavelength we really should have been on last week when we did the movie burst.
That's true. Yeah, we probably were both thinking the same thing. Well, I should have worn this last week. I'll wear it this week, and here we go.
Here we are. Well, anyway, we have actually got quite a few news stories this week, so let's get stuck in then, mate. And first up, in Skeletron news... Yes, Skeletron have been busy revealing lots of new concept art, but also, just this morning as we record, they dropped an amazing RoboSkull Mark II Kickstarter hype video. It included concept art, possible box art, full animated 3D renders of the vehicle, and gave us some more insight into the project. It will be a collaboration with Marauder Gunrunners, Dave Proctor's Spartan Toys, Alex Wu's Design Justice Studio, and the Palatoy legend himself, Bob Breakin. The Kickstarter campaign kicks off in October, so get bloody ready. Justin, how excited are you for this?
Oh, I'm fired up. This thing looks amazing. I mean, just the quick kind of Kickstarter hype video we got with sort of some of the 3D modeling and stuff, and you can see some of the articulation in the wings. I mean, this looks like a RoboSkull kind of turned up to 11. It's really, really cool. I like how they kind of were clearly inspired by the classic, but not fully wedded to it, and they're doing some pretty crazy stuff. And the video was insanely, professional, really professionally well done. Yeah, I'm digging it. And the fact that it's kind of linked to Marauders, I think is also a really cool thing. And, the video didn't show any figures, but you'd think if Marauders involved, maybe there's probably some kind of figure included. I would think, Red Wolf or somebody like that. I think it's, I'm hyped. I think it's very cool. Something a little bit different.
Absolutely. You mentioned obviously the collaboration aspect there with Marauder Gunrunners. You're right. I definitely expect a figure with this now that Marauder are involved. Not just that, but then you've got Dave Proctor's Spartan Toys. So there's like a level. Like there's a guy in the industry who's been pretty much integral in most indie companies getting their product out. Yeah. So like straight off, they X-Boss Fight as well. So you've got like lots of experience coming into the back of this. On top of that, you've also got Alex Wu, who we knew had done a lot of the concept art because they'd posted a few kind of snippets of his concept stuff beforehand. And again, there's another guy who is just an insanely talented artist.
Oh, yeah.
Insanely, just so good to have on board. And you can see that I imagine a lot of the designs might have come through him because they are fantastic. And this thing looks incredible. And then, of course, you've got Bob Breakin. I mean, there's a pretty much it's kind of like almost like a dream team for some sort of a toy company starting up, isn't it?
Oh, it totally is. I mean, you've got kind of a mastermind behind the original vehicle and behind a lot of the Palatoy stuff back in the day. Somebody who's got industry knowledge going back decades. And then you've got folks like you mentioned, Dave Proctor, who is, you may not have heard his name, associated with a lot of, most people in the toy industry know who Dave Proctor is, his attachment with Boss Fight Studios, work with Hasbro, but he's been doing a ton of work, kind of behind the scenes over the past, couple of years that folks don't necessarily know about. I mean, I would hazard a guess that the majority of successful action figure Kickstarters that you've seen recently he's had his fingers in there in some way, shape, or form. So
Especially the
yeah,
ones
I
that,
mean,
especially the ones that deliver as well. Like
exactly,
yeah.
yeah, exactly. The ones that actually end up in collectors' hands, yeah. So, and of course, Alex Wu, yeah. I mean, it's just there's a whole wealth of really qualified people, and to get Marauder to sign on, I think Marauder Gunrunners doesn't just attach their name to anything. So I think if they're involved in this somehow, I think that kind of gives you a little clue into sort of what we can expect, and like this isn't some little fly by night operation. They've really put some thought and effort into this.
Fly by night pun in there somewhere, isn't there? Because it's like a
Maybe, I don't know.
Robo Skull by night. I definitely agree with all that, and I think it's not a bad idea to get Marauder on board, especially after they've just come off the back of their own massive Kickstarter.
No kidding.
Just amazing work from them on that. But yeah, I've got to say, like looking at the actual vehicle itself, my goodness, like the kind of the rotating wings, obviously, but then there are like articulated points on the edges of the wings that move in and out. And then, like, to make it look maybe like cooler in sort of flight mode. But then you've also got little landing talons that kind of come out as well. So it can, when it's upright, it can land on those kind of 4 points. Some really nice kind of sexy features thrown in there. And the moving jaw, I mean...
Oh, man.
It's at the end of the video and it just kind of goes... And then,
Yeah.
and then just kind of like eats the screen. But it's just such a cool like addition, I think, on that. And also, I think... I mentioned it in the news burst, but there's obviously it's got this amazing Mohawk cockpit looking thing, right? So first off, the Mohawk cockpit, my favorite aspect of the entire thing, right? Awesome. There's a single shot of I think it's like a bit of concept art, and I just caught it when I was watching the video, like in the first few frames, and I zoomed in on it, and it shows you almost like it opening, like a kind of like an engineering drawing. So that's going to be awesome if that's the case. I'm guessing it is, and they just haven't shown that feature on the video yet. But I get the feeling there's going to be more stuff to come with this as well, because I don't know. There's just it strikes me there's more to kind of like get into here.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Especially since clearly at the end they mentioned a Kickstarter coming in October. That's right around the corner. And I haven't seen a Kickstarter yet that just kind of had one goal, just the vehicle. They tend to tack on some stretch goals and things like that. So you have to think that there's probably going to be more involved. We'd already mentioned the possibility of a figure. I'm sure that's probably in there somewhere. But yeah, I mean, even just the structure of the vehicle itself, you can really tell there's a lot crammed in there. And I think we're going to get some pretty cool, as the Kickstarter launches, some real neat kind of peeks inside of this thing. And I'm sure there's going to be lots of neat surprises for everybody.
Absolutely. Cannot wait. I suppose the other thing to maybe not speculate about, but it's probably worth mentioning. We don't obviously know what costing is going to be yet. We don't know how much it's going to cost. What kind of levels are going to be. Looking at this thing, do you expect? We haven't really spoken about scale either, have we? I mean, Marauder Gunrunners are involved, so immediately your brain goes to like kind of 4-inch, doesn't it? Or sure. Mine does anyway.
Yeah, I with Marauder involved, I would certainly think that the 4-inch kind of 1/18 scale is their biggest target demographic. Plus, I mean, the vintage Robo Skull was that same scale. It'd be neat if they could kind of, somehow, I don't know how they would do it, but if they could kind of, make it compatible to other scales as well, that'd be pretty cool. I'm not sure how that would work, but
cool.
It would be pretty amazing.
You have to have like almost like inserts inside or something, wouldn't you? Like things you'd have to kind of change the build on and stuff, but. Yeah. That would be awesome. I do have a feeling it's going to be kind of like in that 4-inch scale. But the other thing I was going to mention was, the cost aspect.
Yeah, that's a tough call.
What do you think? I mean, without kind of saying numbers, I mean, do you think it's going to be one of those really expensive situations, or do you think they could probably bring this in at a decent price?
Well, I guess it probably depends on your definition of a decent price. I mean,
$0.
Probably not. But I mean, it's not going to be something you walk into Walmart and buy for $19.99. I mean, that's clear. I mean, I would hope that people that have been involved in action figure Kickstarters over recent years kind of understand and appreciate that these things are expensive. I mean, tooling and manufacturing and everything that goes into them. Yeah, and I would say, other vehicles that we've seen, even ones that are kind of geared towards the 1/18 scale, I mean, they've been $100 and $200 sometimes. So I mean, that wouldn't surprise me that this could be kind of a boutique item that isn't cheap, but I think you will also get a lot of bang for your buck. And I think the beautiful thing about Kickstarter is generally you can get in on the ground floor and tend to get a better deal than you might otherwise. I know we spoke of this Marauder Kickstarter, and I think by the time that was all said and done, if you went all in on the Marauder Kickstarter, I think it broke down to like $12 per figure or something. That's like crazy. That. It was insane. Yeah. And when those things get released, you could turn around and probably double your money, if not more. So, I mean, that's the beautiful thing about Kickstarters that you have faith in, is that you can get in on that ground floor, tend to get a better price early on, because you're kind of helping them get their business started. And I know when Boss Fight did their Kickstarter so many years ago, all in people there got, I mean, you can't even buy one Urail figure for the same price as you might have paid for an entire all in on that Kickstarter back then. So, I mean, it's pretty crazy how that stuff works, but I think that's going to be a good opportunity to kind of get a decent price and get in as early as possible.
I would say if this is kind of piquing your interest now, I would make as much plans as possible going into October. I know it's difficult to say. It's not easy to do that. It's not easy to say that. There may be other things you want more, but obviously I'm sure you'll make that priority yourself. But I would definitely try and get in on the Kickstarter level here, because you just know what's going to happen. It's gonna run its course. It's I could see it funding comfortably. I mean, I'm never really very good with these kind of things. I can never judge what's going to be popular or not. I look at some things and go, oh yeah, that'd be amazing, and I'll really want to be in it, and then I'll get in on it as well, and it'll just get nowhere near, and I'll just think, oh damn. But then there'll be other stuff that I'm just like, I can't really see a market there, and it does like $1 million. I know. How? So I mean, well, let's hope anyway that let's for argument's sake, it'll run its course, let's say, and you'll be the other side of the Kickstarter having not been involved, and you'll just be kicking yourself, because now you're looking at secondary market, or you're looking at maybe a slight increase in price initially. But eventually, if you stay out there too long and you really want something like this, you could be looking at a lot of money to get one. So, like I said, just keep in mind that next month this is going to happen. We don't know exactly when. I'm guessing we'll get some information on that very soon. And obviously, we'll keep you updated with any more information that Skeletron drop. But anyway, Justin, let's move on then to the next bit of news. Slightly less exciting, I would say. But still, it's G.I. Joe related, and that's Loot Crate news. Following on from their Scarlet and Cobra Commander statues, Loot Crate have revealed their latest exclusive G.I. Joe statue for their upcoming G.I. Joe Takeover crate, and it's Snake Eyes and Timber. Just like the previous statues, he stands over 5 inches tall, has an oversized head, easy, and is based on his version 2 vintage figure design. Yeah. Timber features an almost teal and white colour scheme that looks very cute indeed. The statue comes on a partial stand with one of his feet off the base due to the timber taking up most of the real estate, and he is posed pointing in a small homage to his first 2 original card backs, which is funny because I never noticed on the vintage version 2 at the time that he was pointing. I know that sounds crazy, but I didn't really pay much attention to it. And when obviously since I've just noticed that he has, and it's almost like he's sending timber off, isn't he, to attack whoever it is. But that never really dawned on me because I'm an idiot. Anyway, overall, I quite like this particular statue. The crate is available now, and you can order it for $49.99. Link in the description. It's cool that Loot Crate have continued to release G.I. Joe products in their crates, and I fully expect to see more in future subscriptions. Justin, are you a fan of these statues in general?
Yeah, I'm not sure I'm the target market. I like that Loot Crate and G.I. Joe have formed this sort of partnership to get these things out in the world. I don't really like the super deformed look all that much. Yeah. I'm not a huge statue fan either, so this is isn't really in my wheelhouse. But I think as far as execution goes, I think they did a good job sort of representing that vintage 85 Snake Eyes look. I think folks that are into this sort of thing will really love this. Like I said, I think they executed it well. It's not something that I'll necessarily go out of my way to acquire, but I think anything that kind of expands the reach of GI Joe is a good thing, and Loot Crate is certainly one of those things that will do that. So, yeah, I'm certainly glad they're doing it, even if it's not necessarily something that I'm personally invested in.
Do you know what's really funny? Actually, I don't mind the super deformed scale when it's really small. So, like Microforce, I thought was awesome.
Yeah, I did have some
stuff.
fun with those. Yeah, I did have some fun with those.
But I have to agree with you. Like when it gets to like even like kind of loyal subject size and a bit bigger, I tend to start going a little bit off it. And I think it's just like the collectability aspect I really like about these brands and stuff, especially GI Joe, and any small like GI Joe collectibles I'm all about. So I'm loving Jada Toys stuff at the moment. But when it comes to like the kind of super deformed, like loyal subjects, there was that company that never actually released anything. Do you remember them? They had alien eyes almost, and they had to change the alien eyes.
Right. Yeah.
And then I don't even think they actually released anything at the end of the day.
I don't think they did either, and I don't remember who that was either.
What Not Toys, was it?
Something like that.
I think it was What Not Toys. Correct me if I'm wrong, viewers / listeners. I should know because we reported on it about 30 times.
I know. I remember us like getting all wigged out by the way those
alien eyes. They were so freaky. And I kind of got a similar vibe off the Scarlet figure. And it's why I kind of like the fact they went with Cobra Commander and Snake Eyes for the next two. Because the Scarlet figure for the Scarlet Loot Crate statue, her eyes are like really big and weird, and they look a bit freaky. So
it is What Not Toys. I just used a little Google foo and got that confirmed, and now I'm going to have nightmares all over again because I'm seeing pictures.
I do know that they changed the designs because we reported on this. Yeah, and they put them on their website for like pre-order, I think it was, or pre-orders to come. And they put them on the website, and we did the report on it and everything, and they changed the eyes to normal eyes, which no-brainer really in the first place. And to me it just looked like the loyal subjects again. It just looked like that, which again I didn't have a problem with. I just felt that the price point didn't match what you're getting, especially on a blind box. And I don't mind getting like the whole box to make sure you've got the whole run, but you know how it is.
It gets expensive. It
does. And also the one thing I will say about the Loot Crate thing, I probably would only be after the statue if I was after it. And that's going to cost me basically $50 because I'm probably not going to be that fussed about anything else that's in it. And that's just my experience with crates in general. Like, you'll get some cool stuff, but for the most part, they are trying to, shift a little bit of merch that maybe wouldn't have shifted on its own previously.
Right. Yeah, I think there is generally one showcase item in that crate, and then the rest of it's just kind of filler a little bit. And I would agree that statue is clearly the showcase, and the rest of it is kind of complementary of that primary item.
Like a T-shirt, maybe. Anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, actually, let's move on then to kind of like a bit of entertainment news, technically, in Communicopia news. Yeah, what?
I saw that word like 100 times while I was reading various articles, and I still did not really understand how to pronounce that.
I'm going with Communicopia. Earlier this week, Hasbro spoke at... Sorry, I've got a train going past. Honking its hoss in horn. Shall I leave it in? I'll leave it in. Earlier this week, Hasbro spoke at the Goldman Sachs 30th Annual Communicopia Conference. Bit of a mouthful, isn't it? In attendance were CEO Brian Goldner. It sounds like I'm being censored at the moment. CFO Deb Thomas and E1 CEO Darren Throop. HISSTANK reported on all the important parts relating to G.I. Joe, including aspects such as product delays, Hasbro movie releases, and even more entertainment to come. Goldner discussed the fact that Hasbro have been struggling with the issues caused by continuing global events, and explained that a number of products will be pushed up a quarter, from late 2021 to early 2022, and actually going forward as well. He did not specify which toys would be affected, but I wouldn't bet against G.I. Joe being involved in that. It's not all bad news, however, as they have also seen a gradual ease in the situation, with Hasbro trying every trick in the book, including the usage of additional ports to circumnavigate the problems. E1 CEO Darren Throop also spoke in regards to the pandemic, explaining that E1 will evaluate Hasbro movie releases on a case-by-case basis. Some will see released theatrically with a shorter theatrical window as opposed to the usual 90 days before hitting home video, and some will directly shift to streaming. He also confirmed that Transformers Rise of the Beasts and the upcoming Dungeons & Dragons movie will see a theatrical release, but did not elaborate on the release window period of 90 versus 45 days. However, he did state that a shorter window would benefit merchandise sales. Interesting. Goldner added that more entertainment content is on its way for properties such as Transformers, G.I. Joe, My Little Pony and Risk. Justin, let's start with the delays. I mean, not a massive surprise here really, is it?
Yeah, I don't think people really truly appreciate just what the ramifications still are worldwide of kind of what has happened over the past 18 months. And, I think there's very much sort of an entitlement attitude that goes around as far as, why can't I get my stuff now? But we're seeing it everywhere.
With everything.
Yeah. I mean, it's not like it's just action figures.
Do you think there's a mentality thing here of, in the past when life was giving you you would turn to this hobby as the kind of this is the outlet to kind of like get away from all the other stuff that's going on. The fact that you can't really escape to that in the same way that you did before, that is probably having an effect mentally on a lot of people as well, isn't it? Do you think?
I have no doubt in my mind. I think it really is I think it has been wearing people down, and I can relate to that. I mean, a lot of people will go see movies will watch movies as a way to kind of release some of that anxiety. And for folks that aren't comfortable going to the theater and this long delay to streaming, that can cause a frustration. Not being able to turn to some of the comfort food, so to speak, of action figure collecting.
Yeah.
The frustration of seeing, the toy companies get caught kind of in a tough spot, because if you don't show something, you get fan revolt saying, well, you never show us anything. Yojo June was a failure. You only showed us 3 classified figures, whatever. But if you do show something and then it doesn't ship for, a year and a half, then you're screwed there too. So what do you do? So yeah, it's a very challenging situation for everybody. And I think you're right. I think the fact that as collectors, we have those action figures as kind of our safety blankets. And, and if life gets rough, we can just kind of turn to our imagination and turn to our displays of action figures and kind of relive some of those more cherished moments of our childhood and kind of forget that reality is not, quite as nice as it was back in the 80s. But not that it was fantastic back in the 80s, but you know what I mean? Looking through rose-colored childhood glasses, we can go into a Toys R Us and get lost for an hour and just forget that.
As opposed to looking through the feces tinted glasses of the last year and a half. Yeah, exactly
right. So yeah, I think that's spot on, and I think that can really cause some frustration because you have people that want something to hold on to. They want to be able to revisit that nostalgia, and when they hear about something and then it takes over a year to get it in your hands, that can really kind of break your spirit a little bit. So I can understand why people feel that way, but I think, and I would hope that at this point that has become more of an expectation, and that people can somehow find a way to not lash out about it and to understand that, yes, the images you're seeing on the news of 100 container ships off the port of Los Angeles that have been sitting there for months, that is real. That some your favorite G.I. Joe classified toy might very well be on one of those ships. Sorry, it sucks, but that's kind of reality right now. And yeah, like you said, it's hitting everybody. You hear about it a lot with the board game folks who are just getting, a lot of these indie board game manufacturers are getting totally hosed, where they've got product on containers, and the container people are basically telling them, we've got it, it's here for you, you now owe us $50,000 more if you want it. And it's just kind of larceny almost. So yeah, I mean, it's just a really bad situation all around right now. You got to think it's going to get better, but yeah, it's tough, and people who are used to relying on their favorite hobby to get them through the tough times don't even have that. So
exactly.
So yeah, it can be a struggle. It can be.
And obviously related to the global situation, and that's entertainment wise, Darren Throop of E1, he kind of discussed a few things as well, explaining as well that they're going to be looking at each kind of like project on a case by case basis. So we're probably, to me, that's, and especially with the kind of rejigging at Paramount, and we're kind of switching to the movie weekly here, aren't we? But like the rejigs at Paramount and the fact that you've got, a more streaming focused kind of like team going on there now, like kind of heading up what will effectively be probably looking more towards streaming going forward. That has a big kind of impact then on the G.I. Joe stuff and the products that are out there. But I don't know, maybe for like the better in our situation here, because I still think that it's a better way to go in terms of the G.I. Joe market, and we have had this conversation last week as well.
Yeah.
But I mean, what are your thoughts on that as a case-by-case basis?
And that's part of the frustration too, is that there is a bigger focus on streaming, but there is still, and we talked about this last week too with Shang-Chi and how this delay. I think they just announced that Shang-Chi won't be on Disney Plus until November 12th or something like that, which is.
Really?
It is what it is, but it's so yeah, I think a focus on streaming is good, and I think if the studios can kind of come at it holistically, thinking about it all the way through and not just as kind of a tack on, I think that's where Disney got themselves into trouble, is where they just said, okay, we'll just throw it on Disney Plus, and it just kind of tacked it on to their offerings rather than thinking about what that meant to the actors and to the production companies and how to compensate them for that. That's what kind of bit him in the ass with Black Widow. But yeah, I mean, I think it's a good thing. I mean, you've got, not just for the short term, obviously with the pandemic going on, people are stuck in their homes, or not quite as stuck as maybe they should be. We'll save that commentary. But yeah, a lot of people are kind of, they're hesitant to go out to a theater. They want they not just want, and I hate to kind of put this false level of importance on something. Somebody's going to say, it's entertainment, big deal. Well, considering the times we're going through right now, people need that.
It's pretty important at the moment, yeah.
Yeah, as somebody who's an author and who writes books, you understand the importance of art to people, and art comes in different forms, whether it's film, whether it's television, whether it's streaming, cinema, actual, drawings or paintings or comic books, or regular books. I consider writing a book an art form, a type of art. That sort of stuff is critically important during times like this. And I can't tell you how many messages I get from readers who say, which is fascinating because my books are basically about the end of the world. But people will tell me, wow, I read about the biggest earthquake ever, cleaving California in half, and all of a sudden my life was better. So it's, there is, but I do get lots of messages that really say, your books get me through the day. I always look forward to your next book. It helps kind of deal with life as it stands.
Yeah.
And I think that's true across all art forms, and entertainment is important. And I think the more accessible you can make that entertainment, the better it is.
Yeah.
And yes, that does suck for the theater industry a little bit, but I think, this has kind of exposed the need for more accessible entertainment. And if you have to kind of figure out a creative way to fund that or write contracts for it, do it.
Yeah.
But just try to make it so you can offer this stuff for streaming without screwing the theatrical industry. Maybe there's a way to, have both sides be happy. I don't know what that is, but yeah, I think now more than ever, it's critical, not just during COVID, but kind of going forward, because yes, we all like to think there is a finish line to COVID, and I think there will be, but there's a lot of crap going on in the world right now. And even after COVID ends, I think it's going to be important for people to have exposure to entertainment as easily as they possibly can.
Absolutely.
And that just doesn't go for, cranky fanboys. It goes for people that maybe they're immunocompromised. They can't go to the theater. Maybe they're in a wheelchair or something. Maybe it's a challenge for them to get out and about, and they need to have, more access to this media, and they have a right to have that access. So I think there's a whole bunch of stuff that this sort of pandemic thing has exposed, and I think this is an opportunity for studios to embrace that and make it part of their routine rather than just trying to slap it on to what they're already doing.
Yeah, agreed. They mentioned obviously more entertainment to come, which you kind of expect that was the case anyway. But it's good to hear that is still on their minds. G.I. Joe's still an important brand, that they're still pushing, like live action series and also the animation, which we haven't seen anything kind of come about of that yet. But I still think before the end of the year we're going to see something. Not necessarily a finished product, but definitely some sort of trailer or concept art, or someone will come out and go, look, I've been working on this, I'm allowed to talk about it now. And then we'll jump all over it and be like, oh, what's this about? Look at the design. Look at the weird different designs. And there's something we'll get onto a little bit later on in terms of, the brand as a whole. But are you excited that we still are going to get more media attached to G.I. Joe?
Absolutely. Yeah, I think it's critical. And I suspect, there was obviously a lukewarm response to Snake Eyes. I would think and I would hope that Hasbro
he says with two guys wearing Snake Eyes movie t-shirts. You're right though. Yeah, you're totally right. Yeah.
But I would think and hope that both Hasbro and Paramount kind of understand the situation in the world, wasn't optimal for that kind of theatrical release, and will let frame kind of future decisions and understand that perhaps streaming might be a better way to go. But yeah, I'm really excited to hear that more entertainment's in the works. I am, for whatever, I can't explain it, but for me, I get really invested in G.I. Joe media. I kind of love it. And it honestly sometimes drives some of my favorite parts about the brand. I mean, I've said time and time again how much of a Sigma 6 fan I am. The cartoon was terrible, but the fact that there was a Sigma 6 cartoon and I have representations of those figures was very important to me. G.I. Joe Renegades was absolutely a fantastic cartoon. Didn't get nearly enough cool figures out of it, but it was a great reinvention of the G.I. Joe brand. G.I. Joe Resolute has its shares of issues, but still, some really great designs.
Great toys.
Great to get great toys. So yeah, having that entertainment is really important to me, and I kind of like that connection between the action figures on the shelves and the available entertainment. So the fact that they are still working on that stuff is it's music to my ears, and I hope that keeps on moving forward full speed ahead.
Samesies. And obviously we will, as soon as we get any more information about either animation or live action series, we will be all over that.
Before we finish up, I just want to, and I was going to mention this in my shout outs, so maybe I'm kind of stabbing my shout outs a little bit, but one thing that just people should keep in mind when they're thinking about how G.I. Joe tackles the next generation. Has anybody watched that new He-Man and the Masters of the Universe CGI computer animated show on Netflix that was designed for 7-year-olds, but is one of the most fun cartoons I've seen in years?
I've already watched it.
Yeah, I mean, I'll talk about that more in the shout outs, but yeah, I mean, people who are lockstep in, it's got to be the 80s, blah, blah, blah. Honestly, I watched Revelations. I enjoyed it. And I watched that and I was like, oh, this is great the whole way through. I mean, it doesn't have to be for adults to be great animation.
I thought it looked like really cool as well, like kind of like the settings, the set pieces, everything was like very different, and I quite like that. Kind of Grey Skull and all that kind of aspect looks so, Eternia looks so much different. So I was quite I was drawn in a little bit, I must admit. Anyway, we are getting well ahead of ourselves. This is in the shout-outs. No, I'm kidding. Anyway, let's move on to the last news story, and obviously kind of continuing in the overall brand scheme of things. Get it? The brand scheme. Anyway, I'll shut up now. In console game news. Brand scheme. Earlier this year, in February, during a Hasbro investor event, Wizards of the Coast revealed concept art for a G.I. Joe console game that was in development. The art showed off some pretty cool concepts, including Snake Eyes having a prosthetic leg, as well as a transforming HISSTANK mech vehicle. Well, HISSTANK.com reported on some brand new details regarding the game, and it sounds amazing! It will be a third-person action-adventure game, and the development will be handled by Raleigh Durham Studio, a brand new division of Wizards of the Coast based in North Carolina. The studio is led by industry veterans from the game development studios such as Warner Brothers Games, who were responsible for the Hitman series and the Batman Arkham series, so plenty to be excited about there. The division is aiming to deliver a AAA title with hopes to reinvent the brand in a new way, which is very exciting to hear, and if the concept art is anything to go by, then I can see what they are getting at with the prosthetic leg for Snake Eyes and the whole Hiss mech thing. HISSTANK also mentioned that apart from the shooting mechanics, the game is targeting a sophisticated melee combat system, which I do feel is hugely necessary in a game with so many hand-to-hand combat specialists, and I really hope that they can incorporate some interesting attacks for other mission-specific characters as well, like Dial Tone beating them over the head with a phone, or or Mainframe like smashing someone in the face with his laptop. Finally, they mentioned the game will utilise the Unreal Engine, possibly 5, and will be released across multiple consoles. So much exciting news in this particular report, and I seriously cannot wait to see what they have up their sleeves here. Justin, are you as pumped about this as I am?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think if they can do it right, which everything you're saying and the small tidbits we've seen so far seems to indicate they're doing it right and they're thinking about it the right way. I think this has some really awesome potential.
I will put into context as well. We had at the Hasbro Investor event them talk, like they spoke. I think Deb Thomas discussed this, CFO. She said, or somebody in that team said, it might have been Wizards of the Coast as well, but they said that they've invested a huge amount of money, like hundreds of millions, into gaming for this particular venture, and like not just G.I. Joe but other things as well. And obviously G.I. Joe seems to be pretty big on there. So straight away, we're now, I think, in the realms of that kind of high-end, top-quality computer game kind of area, aren't we?
Yeah, and that's something that G.I. Joe has never really had. There's been plenty of video games, console games, whatever, but it's never, you never got the impression that this was like, we're pouring a ton of resources into this, we're going to make this as good as possible. It was more, we got a movie coming out, let's slap a sticker on it and throw together whatever we can. Hopefully it's fun.
Yeah.
So, so I'm really looking forward to some kind of opportunity for them to really look at a fun, effective mechanic that they can build a G.I. Joe game around. I think there's been a lot of great examples of that sort of thing, the sort of thing. I mean, the Avengers game is, it's somewhat mixed reviews, but I've really enjoyed it. I've played it a little bit. I thought it was great. The Spider-Man game from Insomniac or whatever is absolutely mind-blowing. That kind of open world idea, it might be tough to do with a team game. I mean, the Avengers is kind of a team game, but yeah, I think there's really amazing potential if they really do stick with that, AAA sort of mentality. We want to make a game that everybody really wants to play, whether they're G.I. Joe fan or not. And I will say, kind of back in the day, what kind of drew me back into collecting Transformers toys, to be honest, was they had that trilogy that, I don't know if they were all called War for Cybertron, but there was a trilogy
the games were incredible.
Yeah, those games were sick.
Yeah,
they were amazing, and they drew me in, made me more of a hardcore Transformers fan than I was at the time. And I think that could be an effective way if you can make a high quality game that will draw in non-fans and make them fans.
There was a game prior to that they came out with Transformers. It was almost like the first game that you really got that enjoyable transformation aspect from it, where you're like, you press a button and you transform into the vehicle kind of thing. And it was like really, I forget what it was called, but like I remember that being like one of the first ones. And then you're right, like the War of Cybertron or the War for Cybertron or the War on Cybertron.
Yeah,
correct me if I'm wrong, but
it was either 2 or 3 games in a row by High Moon Studios that kind of really
unbelievable though, wasn't it? Like that whole like broken space type thing where everything's destroyed and ruined, and you're like fighting Starscream on the edge of a girder or something. And it was I just loved it. I thought it was brilliant. Really enjoyed that game. I really enjoyed the cell shaded Devastation game as well.
Yeah, that was fun.
I feel like that. Okay, we can't talk about games without talking about Operation Blackout, and I'll premise this with. I enjoyed Operation Blackout, don't get me wrong, but it does have its shortcomings. And I think, that's one of the reasons, I've played it once all the way through. It took me a long time to do so because, for one thing, getting the time to play it, but then also, the motivation sometimes because, some of the levels were, they weren't enjoyable enough to be repetitive. So, if I had to, if I was struggling on a level and I was getting to the point where I was just not defeating this enemy for whatever reason, it'd be a lot for me to get back into it, you know? And that's the mark of a really, really good, enjoyable, kind of drawing you in kind of game is, can you go there and just play it? And then all of a sudden 8, 9, 10 hours have elapsed and you're like, what have I done with my life? That is the mark of a really good game.
It really is.
And obviously not completing it in that time as well. And so with Operation Blackout, I felt it was loads of fun, but there was it had a ceiling for me. It had like an interest ceiling. And what I think with this, what we're getting here is we're getting things like AAA. We're getting way more money poured into it. We're getting Unreal Engine. We're getting we're getting all sorts of things thrown at this. where I think, given a good enough aesthetic as well, man, we could be in for something really cool.
Yeah, I think there's some real potential for some good stuff here. I think we just keep an open mind and cross our fingers and hope for the best. And I think the stuff they can do with gaming these days, it could blow our minds.
Absolutely. I just hope Lightfoot's in it. Tigerfall's Hit and Run and Lightfoot. If they're in it,
I'm in. Yeah.
So it doesn't matter. The rest of it
I need.
Can be terrible. It can be an awful game.
Yeah, exactly.
Sorry, mate. Yeah. I mean, we've also, we've talked about in the past, we've talked about the concept art and how cool that is. And I mean, that's probably not, we're not going to be, that's not looking at the game necessarily.
Right.
Do you think they're going to kind of try and push that Snake Eyes prosthetic leg thing? Because I think that's a really cool angle.
I think that's a fantastic angle. I mean, Snake Eyes has always been kind of a damaged soldier. He's been disfigured, obviously seriously injured in battle and kind of recovering from that. I think adding that to his existing issues would be a really fantastic way to drive that character further forward. I think that, and plus it adds a little bit of representation to
Absolutely.
Somebody who has the same sort of issues going on in real life. They can look at that character and say,
holy shit, I could be Snake Eyes.
Yeah, I could put on a black lycra suit and flip off a building and kill somebody with a sword too. That'd be pretty awesome. Yeah.
And then everyone will be doing it. No.
Yeah.
But no, I absolutely agree with you 100% on that. That representation thing would be massive. And also to do it, to kind of give that representation to arguably the most famous, the most popular, I'm saying arguably, but he probably is the most famous and the most popular character in the franchise, I think is really a really cool way to go with it. And also mech hiss tanks. If we don't see either of those things, I might be disappointed in this.
I know. They've set the bar officially, they kind of screwed themselves with putting those screen captures out there, because if those don't happen in the game...
Do you know what? The only other times I can think of, and I'm sure there've been more, but off the top of my head, I remember Alpine in the IDW series getting his leg amputated, and still being involved in the mission with Snake Eyes. I believe it was around the time that he got killed, Snake Eyes, and then got brought back, reanimated. I can't remember what maybe Robert Atkins was doing the art at the time anyway. I
remember that. Yeah.
Yeah. So there's that, and then obviously Sightline had his leg amputated in the spoiler alert. In the kind of near current IDW storyline, and he's had like this crazy bionic leg put on that Dr. Mindbender had some anyway, too many spoilers here. Sorry guys. If you
back in the day, Billy was kind of the first to, he had that too, way back in the 80s, same sort of thing. Yeah.
Idiot, not Billy, me.
Well,
yeah, obviously,
good.
So was it Billy, Alpine, and Sightline, and now hopefully in the the overall G.I. Joe kind of media, we can have a Snake Eyes in there too, which I think would be amazing. Yeah.
Hey, maybe that Snake Eyes in that screenshot is Billy. Who knows?
Look what you've got.
That could be a twist. That could be a twist.
Look what we've actually talked ourselves into here. We do this all the time. I used to do this, and it'd be like, a movie would be coming out, and I'm like, let's wait for the G.I. Joe bit at the end, and it never comes. And we've talked up all these, he's got a scar on his face, and he must be G.I. Joe Colton, and all this kind of stuff. And it's like, no. Yeah. I'm not sure if this is a good thing or a bad thing that we do, but we do talk a lot of these things into non-existence.
It's being speculators, nothing wrong with it. It's all good.
We speculate till nothing happens with it. But yeah, anyway, that is console game news, and obviously I'm really frigging excited about this.
Oh yeah,
can't wait to see what they do with this.
I don't know if the camera picks it up, but of course those are. I think that's I don't even know what series. I think it's a PS4 and an Xbox One. I don't have the new stuff.
Next gen. I know I've got
Series X and the PS5. I don't have any of those things. So of course the G.I. Joe game will require like a $400 investment, which I will probably make because I'm a moron, and then I'll play G.I. Joe for 2 hours and never play it again. But.
I've got the Xbox, not the next gen, but the one below it, like an Xbox Series 1S, I think it is. Xbox One S, I believe mine is.
Okay.
And so like my mate's got a next gen, and he keeps telling me how good it is, and I'm like, oh man, I'm gonna have to, aren't I? But it
happens every time. I buy the latest systems. I play some games. I really love them. They look gorgeous. I play them for like 4 hours maybe, and never again. And then the cycle repeats, and then I don't play a game for 6 years. They come out with new systems. I see a trailer for a game that looks absolutely amazing. I buy all new systems to play this one game, and I play it for 4 hours, and then I never play it again. But
it's disgusting behavior.
It is. I'm the worst kind of capitalist. You know, I'm funneling money into the system, and whatever.
Moneybags Bell.
Yeah.
Justin the Wall Street Bell. Because they ring a bell, don't they, or something like? Anyway,
they do. That's right.
What's it? It's probably called I don't know what it's called. I'm not going to even attempt to know. But I just know there's a bell involved, and it's not a Justin.
There is a bell. There's a bell involved. That's not me.
Tell you what, if it's the Wall Street, there's a lot of bells involved. Anyway, bell ends. Let's move into the shout outs, shall we? Justin, I know usually I would go first when you're on the show, and I've been letting Pat go first, so I'm going to let you go first. Give us your first shout out. I think I know what it is, actually.
Well, actually, I'm going to do a different shout out first. Because Pat isn't here. I'm going to shout out Phil. Because Phil always deserves a shout out for all the hard work that he does. I know. Screw with Pat, man. I'll shout out Phil. Phil does all the work. That's clear. You know, anybody who watches the video knows it's all on Phil's back. So go, Phil, go. There's my Phil shout out.
Phil gets a shout out. He's going to be. I mean, Pat's probably not going to watch this. He won't watch it.
Well, that's why I'm not bothering. He's not going to see it anyway. Exactly. So I mean, whatever.
If he messages
we love you too, Pat.
If he messages us and says I watched and I saw, then great. I'll be shouting him out every episode, even the ones he's on. Yeah. Big shout to Phil and Pat. Any others, definitely. Justin? I know you had another one.
Well, I wanted to give a shout out to that. Like I said, the new He-Man and Masters of the Universe animated show on Netflix, which has really been kind of a case, really showing how you can reinvent a brand and make it fun and entertaining. I mean, this cartoon essentially looked at the He-Man brand or whatever you want to call it, and just went whoosh, swept everything right off the board. Said, "All right, we're doing our own thing," and it's so much fun. I mean, there isn't a single character there that is really a mirror of their character. I mean, yes, Kronos, I don't want to put too many spoilers, but history that you know of transpires on the screen, but in totally different ways.
Yeah.
Yet the characters are fun, vibrant, exciting.
Evelyn looks really cool as well, doesn't she?
Evelyn is fantastic. I love Trapjaw. I love what they did with Beastman.
Yeah.
The whole Keldor into Skeletor thing. I mean, there was a little bit of a slow burn, but the payoff was totally worth it. Yes, there's some silly child humor and things like that.
How
that kind of
dare
make it rise a little bit, but for a cartoon that was kind of geared toward, I mean, it's rated Y7, 7-year-olds, and I was watching it and I was enjoying it, and of course my 16-year-old daughter.
What does that tell you?
What are you doing?
What does that tell you?
Well, exactly, yeah, and my daughter basically told me the same thing. She's like, "What are you watching? It's like a kid's cartoon." I'm like, "Yeah, so you want to make something of it?"
I'm just writing down your new nickname for the end credits.
Oh no. But no, it was, I enjoyed every single episode of it. And I think they took kind of the first season and they split it into two, kind of like they did with Revelations. I'm not sure when the second group of episodes is going to air. But, do you
think there was an element of doing Revelations in order to soften the blow for a couple of the hardcores who might maybe take offense to changing He-Man so much? Because I know there was a lot of backlash for Revelations anyway.
Well, that's what I was going to say. It's hilarious. If that's the case, they totally failed because people torched Revelations. Some of those same people that torched that are saying how much they love this one, even though it's not kind of made for them. So I think it's kind of case in point that being trying to lean too hard into nostalgia doesn't always pay off, especially if you kind of mix up the status quo a little bit like they did with Revelations. And it's also case in point that you can try something totally new. And as we know, Transformers, famously back in the 90s did it with Beast Wars, which eventually they kind of connected to G1, but at first was just a totally new take on the franchise that totally reinvented that brand. It's too early to say whether this will reinvent He-Man or not, but just the fact that they kind of had the guts to do it, was really impressive, and I really enjoyed it. And I think it probably helps that there's a guy involved named Jeff Matsuda who was also involved in kind of the Batman animated series back in was it the 90s or was that no? It was the 2000s, I think. Was it? I don't know.
The animated series was
just the Batman. It wasn't Batman the animated series. It was a series called The Batman.
That would have been 2000 then, I think.
Yeah, it was in the 2000s, but that was another series that it came up after Batman Beyond and after the animated series. It was just a really fantastic take on the Batman, and again, a very different take on the Batman character. And I think his involvement in kind of the character design and the animation just
2004
really blew me away. 2004.
Yeah, 5 seasons.
I didn't even realize it went that long. Crazy.
Jeez.
Crazy. Anyway, so yeah, shout out to that new kind of brave take on He-Man and the Masters of the Universe. It was a lot of fun. It kind of ended on a cliffhanger, so I'm excited to see where they go with it. It was great.
Absolutely. I kind of caught a little bit of it and kept watching it and was like, oh, I finished it. Amazing. I must admit, I did think it was kind of fun too, and loved the aesthetics are insane. Next up then is me, and as always, big shout out to me. Big shout out to all the family and to my wonderful wife, Kate. Love you all very much. And a special shout out as well to my father-in-law, Kent, who actually went in for heart surgery on Thursday. Thankfully didn't need anything serious done. So he went in, I think they were going to do is it called stents or something along those lines?
Stints, yeah.
Stints, I think it was called. Yeah, they were going to do that. It turned out he didn't need that, which is because he was going to be having some serious surgery. So he's kind of recuperating now. He's on meds and all that kind of stuff. So fingers crossed, everything has gone well there. And obviously, touch wood, he continues to, there's wood here. He continues to get better. So big shout out to you, Kent. Love you very much. Get well soon, mate. And he'll know what that means. Anyway, to Brian Sauer for the new awesome Tiger Force Fall graphics, which are just amazing. Look, Justin, look around you at all the beautiful graphics that surround you. This is the sexiest we've ever looked with the tiger print all around. So
speak for yourself.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
I've looked a lot sexier personally.
With your leopard print.
That's not Brian's fault.
Fault. I like that there's a fault in that.
Well, when I say it that way, it makes it sound like, this is garbage. But no, that's not what I mean at all, Brian. No.
Amazing. And actually, in relation to Brian, he has given us these awesome assembly-required graphics to reveal, which I'll flash up on screen. Obviously, it's Ninja Force for assembly required this November. Absolutely stunning artwork that goes along with it. And he's given us some very beautiful graphics to kind of show you, little kind of almost like postcards with all the information on them. And boom, we'll flash them up on the side there for you. Really, really cool stuff. Thank you so much for that, Brian. Also, this is kind of like a custom spotlight. I should say a custom spotlight foot, because YOHO Joe's Workshop posted some pictures of their incredible Lightfoot classified custom, and it's amazing. It's absolutely incredible. So I just wanted to shout it out because it's Lightfoot, and I'm a Lightfoot shell.
Oh, yeah.
If there had been a hit and run one, I'd let you shout that out, Justin. But yeah, it's amazing, absolutely amazing. So great work on that. Obviously, I'll put links to the images on their Facebook page, so you can check those out as well if you haven't seen it, because it's amazing. And also, you can just check through our socials for the images. Anyway, barbecue is here.
What?
Look, he's here. He's in my hand. Classified barbecue, and he is absolutely incredible.
That looks fantastic. How did you get that already?
Well, I have my means, but I'm going to tell you because obviously it's a shout out, isn't it? And that is Nick at In Demand Toys. So obviously In Demand Toys got their lot. Legally, I will say they're an official Hasbro, an official supplier of them.
They have a speedboat that they rode to one of those containers that's in the ocean, and
he got Mass to jump on a speedboat and get jet ski. Go on, here's a ton of fuel. Go and get it.
Get us some barbecues.
He came back with a bunch of those disposable barbecues you can get at
No, go back. That's not what I wanted.
No, I meant action figure, you douche. So yeah, big shout out to the guys for them. It's actually, sent it from the UK as well. So it gets from the UK to here. It gets to him, and then from the UK to here before we
Heaven
even
forbid, I
see
actually
it in
pre-order it from Target, and I don't even know when it's coming. I mean, I haven't gotten an ETA, not that one or the Breaker and the Ram Cycle. I know they've been floating around overseas forever, but
Yep.
Target apparently is taking a page from the Pulse Handbook. Maybe I'll get it 2024 sometime.
I think, yeah, but Breaker I haven't seen hide nor hair of, and Snake Eyes and Timber I still don't have. I'm so sad about that.
Oh man. Okay, well, Snake Eyes and Timber are better than barbecue, so I'm still one up on you. That's good.
I did get a Hasbro shipping notice today, Pulse shipping notice for Baroness, the movie Baroness. Which
I got one for Cobra Trooper now, like that I ordered from Pulse. I don't even remember how long ago.
Yeah, I got. I think I showed everyone I got this one like last week. So they're just, they're spreading it out nicely.
Well, I've got, if you can see that behind me, that's Scorponok. That's Beast Wars Scorponok.
Oh, yeah.
I got him from Pulse a day ago, and then I got a shipping notice yesterday for Rhinox that I ordered at the same time, but he's coming yesterday. And then I got a third shipping notice for a Cobra Trooper that I think is coming next week at some point. But
well, it's. I mean, whatever. This is life now, isn't it? It's just absolutely all over the place.
You just hit the pre-order button, and then when you get the FedEx notice, you're like, "Oh, happy birthday to me!"
6 years later,
I forgot all about it. Yeah, happy 80th birthday to me.
I will also shout out Pinfinity, who, even though they effed up on a massive scale, well, let's talk about the grand scale. On a scale, they
sent you the wrong pin. I think it's okay.
I know. They sent me, instead of the Storm Shadow and Snake Eyes AR pins, they sent me this Mega Man box set, which some people might think it's probably actually better, that, mate. But yeah, so any Mega Man fans out there?
Okay, I was wrong. That is massive scale, Chris. You're right. That is a massive,
gigantic, isn't it? So yeah. This is it's cute. Like you slide the thing off. It's like a little open little. I mean, look at that. That's really cute. And then you've got a lanyard in there, which is really nice. So you got this kind of cute lanyard in there with Mega Man all over it.
I didn't know enough people gave a about Mega Man to
Neither
actually
did
do
I,
something
really.
like that.
But then look, and then you got these really cute AR pins. You've got the old
sweet
Bluey, and you got the old Reddy there. So yeah, quite
very nice.
Well, the thing is, the upshot is, I emailed them to say, "Hey guys, sorry to bother you," in my classic British overly polite way.
Yeah.
But I think you sent me the wrong set by accident. And then they were like, keep your Mega Man set. It's all good. We'll send you. And they sent me the Storm Shadow and the Snake Eyes pins. They said there must have been an error in their system. They apologized profusely, and they sent me the spin. So I can't even complain, because it's like,
wow, you're lucky. I think the last time you tried that polite British voice asking somebody something, Brian Savage rubbed his nuts on some dollar bills and threw them in an envelope and mailed them to you.
$12 in an envelope, and I'm not even kidding. Anyway, that was amazing, and I'm glad it happened.
Fantastic.
I'm glad it happened just for the story that it.
I know. We've been living off that for a long time.
The funny thing is, I'm actually, like, Brian and I got quite close towards the end of the club, and so it wasn't even like, I'm pretty sure he didn't hate me. Somebody might have done at the club because I kept having issues with club figures. It was usually the bubble was off the card.
Yeah.
And I know one of them was crushed. One of the cards was bent over and twisted and ripped. So I just got the feeling sometimes, I was like, and they were in like these sturdy ass boxes, no issues at all. It
was Angie. I mean, she's all nice and everything on the phone, but behind the scenes she's like, "Chris, you son of a..."
And she was the one I was dealing with a lot of the time, so I wouldn't be surprised. I'm like, "Hey,
those
Angie."
Customer service people, you don't know what goes on behind the scenes.
Another
as soon as
issue.
they hang up the phone, they're like strangling somebody, they're beating the dog. It's bad scene.
The first two issues I had, it was keep the figures, we'll send you new ones. And then the third time it happened, it was send it back. And I'm like, I'm not sending it back, it'll cost me money. And they're like, well, all right, well, we don't usually do this, but we'll cover the shipping. I was like, okay, cool. So I sent it back, and the covered shipping was $12 cash.
That they wiped their asses with.
In an envelope. I did sniff it. It didn't smell like bums. It didn't smell like bums or fannies, and I'm using the UK terminology there. Or wieners, and I'm using the American terminology there.
Wieners. I don't know the last time I called it a wiener. It's been a while.
Just now.
Yeah, I just did it. I got to reset the clock. Where's the days since wiener sign? I got to put a days since I called it a wiener.
It was like, it's something you shouldn't be putting up on your wall.
Oh.
Because that would be 0 every day.
Yeah, exactly.
Amazing. Okay. Right. Okay. Well, that leads us into the end of the shout outs. And
Thank
obviously,
God.
I want to give, as we always do, and we do every single episode, show our support for the LGBTQ plus community. I'm going to also throw in Black Lives Matter as well, because I feel like I have completely ignored so many different issues in the world, and that is obviously one that I feel strongly about as well. We all feel strongly about in the grand scheme of things. And on top of that, as obviously we stand with the Asian and Pacific Islander communities in saying stop Asian hate, and will continue to do so. Follow the links in the description if you want more information or just want to do more to help. We, like I said, we are fully inclusive on this podcast. No matter your background, no matter your situation, we want you to enjoy it, and we want you to feel included in, the jokes and the fun and all of that kind of stuff, and even the boring talk that we do, which is what, Justin, about 100% of the show?
Yeah,
would you say?
98%. All up until the wiener comment. That's when things got good.
Up until wieners. It's always wieners
exactly.
always ruin it, don't they?
Days since wiener, 0.
0 again and 0 again.
Yep.
Anyway, and also to our patrons, our listeners, and our viewers, we truly appreciate your support. Again, we keep getting the odd kind of joinee, we keep getting the odd patron drop in every week or so. So hope you're enjoying everything, guys. And yeah, like I said, if you're an SAS member and if you're a Red Shadow Army patron, you will be getting some very cool intel episodes. So you can look back at all the cool stuff we've been revealing, or you can just wait for some really cool stuff coming up, because we have actually got even more to come. So thanks very much, Justin. Dude, thank you so much for joining me. Really
Absolutely.
Appreciate it, mate. Thanks for jumping on.
My pleasure.
Filling in for, well, you're not filling in because you're always a co-host. You're always welcome. Effectively, it's just a team game, isn't it? That's what I should say. There's no I in... I was trying to think of a word with I in it. Individual. There's no I in individual. What? There's no I in team. But there's a me in it. Anyway.
Yes, that's right.
That brings us to the end of this episode. Thank you for watching. What is it, Justin?
The Full Force Weekly.
Yay! Massive thank you to my awesome co-host, Justin Y7 Bell. See you next time. And as always, after 3, 1, 2, 3, Full Force! That was spot on.
That was good.
Pat's been going on about how it's all, you can't get it, there's always a delay and all this stuff, and you nailed it, Justin. Nailed it.
That's right.
That's how we roll.
You brought in the professional.
Make sure you get involved with the discussion by liking, sharing and commenting on these videos, and as always you can keep up with the show after listening by following on Twitter @The Full Force, liking the Facebook page facebook.com/The Full Force, and if you would like to contact the show you can message us on either of those platforms with feedback and questions. We also have a Patreon page, so if you want to show your support for the show, see your name up in lights on these videos, or enjoy exclusive bonus content, then check out patreon.com/The Full Force Podcast, or click on the link on any of the posts this podcast appears in. Full Force.